The Texas Tech Red Raiders were one of the most hyped teams entering 2023 and failed to deliver on a lot of people's expectations put forth for this program during last preseason. Now, for this summer in 2024, the spotlight is off of them, but this is the perfect time for Joey McGuire's group to strike and have a good year. Can Texas Tech be a sleeper in the Big 12 Conference this upcoming season? You're about to find out what I think here in this video. What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. I want to welcome you to my channel and welcome you to Prediction Season. It's where I predict all 134 FBS level college football teams. It means I'm doing your favorite team, and it means you should hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know my thoughts on all the teams in the country, including your favorite team. I want to thank you for watching this video because it helps support my channel in more ways than you can even imagine. And if you would like to continue to support what I do here on YouTube, please like, comment, share, watch my other videos, and anything else you do to interact with the channel helps to support what I do here on YouTube. And I greatly appreciate all of it. And now we will dive on into the Red Raiders. In 2024, we're going to preview the team's offense, look at the defense as well, and then we will go through the game-by-game schedule, and we will predict it, again, as I just said, game by game. A couple more things before we do start, because right over here are going to be the stats the team put up either offensively or defensively last season. And for your viewing pleasure, of course, dear viewer, right below the team's logo, I have put the team's coaching staff. It is notable to mention the offensive coordinator here for Texas Tech, Zach Kittley, has run high-flying offenses wherever he's been, most notably at Western Kentucky, and it didn't pan out that way last season. Now, there were some injury things that happened, including their starting quarterback entering last season in Tyler Shuck, going down with injury, and overall, again, just having a little bit of a disappointing stint in Lubbock as he has done throughout his career. He's been battling, or I should say, in the sense that he has been battling injuries, not the fact that he has been disappointing, although I'm sure some people out there will make that argument. During his time playing, though, 746 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 picks, and 60% completion percentage for the Red Raiders. He has transferred over and found a new home in the Louisville Cardinals, where he will hope to be their starting quarterback. So you do get Baron Morton back in this quarterback room, the leading passer for this team last year. Had 1,754 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions last season. Jake Strong also played some pretty solid minutes for this group last year. 409 yards on 53% completion, 409 yards, 2 touchdowns, but threw 6 interceptions last year. Oh, and by the way, of the 3 quarterbacks that played for this team last season, well, Baron Morton was actually had the lowest yards per completion number out of the 3. That surely is to change here in 2024. He is your projected starter, but Cameron Brown, a transfer coming over here. I will get the team in 1 second. I was just unfamiliar with the logo. He is coming over from West Georgia, and I have read that he's starting to move up that depth chart, and I believe is already second string. Does he start? Does he not? Maybe he starts a game or two in 2024, but as of this moment, is Baron Morton's show to run in Lubbock this upcoming season. He should be that starting quarterback for the Red Raiders in 2024. Let's take a look at the skill position room. Running backs, let's start with them. Bryson Donald does leave. He has gone through the transfer portal. He's found a new home in state with the UTSA Roadrunners. Pretty good program over there, but Bryson Donald last season, only a depth piece to this team, only 4 carries. Should play a much bigger role with UTSA. So that means you get a lot of really talented running backs back. The 2 most notable ones, though, are Taj Brooks. I'll fix that spelling. Apologies for that typo, but Taj Brooks last season was absolutely fantastic and was one of the best running backs in the country last season. 1,541 yards, 10 rushing touchdowns on 290 carries, and for those of you math nerds out there, that's 5.3 yards per carry. Cameron Valdez actually did have a higher yards per carry on far fewer carries, though. 52 carries for 285 yards and 1 touchdown. Still a solid piece in this run game. It will be led by Taj Brooks again, but Cameron Valdez will be there, kind of playing again at second fiddle, but he'll do it really well this season as well. Cameron Dickey is coming in as a freshman, and he could provide some big minutes for the Red Raiders in 2024 as well. He'll obviously play behind Brooks and Valdez. See, now I said Cameron Valdez is the one wasn't spelled that way, so I apologize for that again, but running back room should be good for the Red Raiders in 2024. 2024 wide receiver room does lose some really good pieces. It loses a lot through the portal, but the most notable piece it leaves was the leading receiver last year. That is Xavier White. 556 yards, 1 touchdown, and 39 catches last season. But you do lose a lot of other very talented pieces through the portal. Your second leading wide receiver last year, Jerand Bradley, he is gone. You also do lose Miles Price, fourth on the team in receiving last year. Both of those guys I just mentioned had at least 4 touchdowns and over 400 yards receiving last year. And then the depth piece in this room last year was Luke Fuwanji, Loic Fuwanji, however you end up saying that name. Again, I apologize for any mispronunciations. Could have ended up playing a bigger role with this team than he did, but only had 6 catches last year. Hey, 2 of them went for touchdowns, though. How about that? So you take a look at the wide receiver room coming back for the Red Raiders this season. Well, Coy Eakin is going to be coming back, was the 3rd leading receiver last year, and might very well be that number 1 option in 2024, but hold on, we still got names to go through. Dre McCray, Jordan Brown, and Brady Boyd are back, but your number 1 option in 2024 is going to come through the transfer portal. Coming over from the Washington State Cougars, it's Josh Kelly, a 4-star rated transfer coming over from Washington State. Very, very good player. He should be that lead target for Baron Morton, Cameron Brown, or anyone else that happens to play quarterback. You also are getting Caleb Douglas, who's a Florida transfer coming in here. So, hey, a couple former Power 5 players coming over to play for this unit to help boost up the wide receiver room, especially all that you lost through the portal. Tight end room, you did lose a couple big names here as well. Baylor Cupp is gone. 11 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. Was the 2nd leading receiver among tight ends last year, but you lose him. And Jaden York, while he was a depth piece last year, again, did get in the end zone once, but only 3 catches. Still a loss, though. He's gone through the transfer portal. Mason Tharp does come back, 178 yards, 4 touchdowns on 18 catches. He was the leading receiver among tight ends last year, while Jalen Conyers and John Carlos Miller have both transferred in here. Conyers is coming over from Arizona State, while John Carlos Miller comes over from the Elon Phoenix. So some fairly talented tight end transfers coming in there. And on your offensive line, you lose Cole Spencer to the NFL. Monroe Mills and Jacoby Jackson are gone through the portal. So Ty Buchanan, Caleb Rogers, and Sheridan Wilson come back, while Vinny Skiri, Davion Carter, Stilling Porcher, and Maurice Rodriguez all come in through the transfer portal. Okay, so when you go ahead and take a look at this team offensively here, really quickly, well, again, what are they going to get from their quarterback play? What does Baron Morton provide over a full season? Maybe Cameron Brown surprises a lot of us and takes that starting role, which I don't think happens. I think it'll be Morton, but you're going to get good running back play from Brooks and Valdez. You have some talent in the wide receiver room, most notably in Josh Kelly, again, that Washington State transfer. I think the pieces are here offensively for Texas Tech, and again, another year with Zach Kitley in the Joey McGuire system, another year with Zach Kitley in this program. The offense should see a boost from last season's stats this upcoming year. When you take a look at the Texas Tech defense, well, it looks like this. You got to talk about the players that are leaving first because, look, there are some really good players leaving the defensive side of the ball for Texas Tech here. We got to talk about one of them on the defensive line, that being Miles Cole. Miles Cole last season coming off the edge, 32 tackles and 3.5 sacks last season. The team as a whole had 28 sacks. I don't believe anyone had more than 5 sacks distributed pretty evenly here throughout this team. Miles Cole was one of the sack leaders last season. You also did lose a couple guys to graduation, and again, 2 guys that were right near towards the top of the leaderboard in sacks for the Red Raiders last year. Jalen Hutchings and Tony Bradford Jr. have both run out of eligibility. They have moved on, as well as Steve Linton, who has entered the transfer portal. So he has moved on in the sense that he is going to find a home with a new program. Linton, you also could technically put as a linebacker there as well, but Cole, Hutchings, Bradford, Linton all had at least 3 sacks last season. Okay, so what do you have come back? Well, Joseph Adedire is still a very talented defensive lineman. You're going to get him back for 2024. Charles Esteers, Quincy Ledette, Amorion Banks, and Trayvon McAlpine. They all return here to this room. Again, Adedire, another one of those players you could put in the defensive line or linebacker room. Again, kind of that edge rusher type player. I've decided to put him on the defensive line, and the defensive line does get some boost through the transfer portal. James Hansen and DeBraylon Carroll are coming in here to this program. Hansen is coming over by way of Nevada, while Carroll comes over by way of Rice. So a couple group of 5 programs, some very talented players within those respective programs make the jump to the Power 4. You look at the linebacker room, and Josiah Pierre is going to be gone through the portal. He has found a new home with the Central Florida Knights. Pretty talented player for this defense last season, 66 tackles, half a sack last year. Again, one of their better linebackers is gone, was the 4th leading tackler. So in this linebacker room, well, your leading tackler was Ben Roberts, broke triple digits with 105. He is back. Jacob Rodriguez, Bryce Ramirez, Mikael Dingle, and John Curry will all be backing him up. Again, Ben Roberts will lead this linebacker room, but the other guys will get some solid playing time here and there as well. Defensive back room, Rashad Williams has gone to the NFL. Williams on this team last season, 19 tackles and 6 passes defended for him last season, while Malik Dunlap has run out of eligibility. He has graduated second on the team with 3 interceptions and tied for second on the team with 7 passes defended while being a top 10 tackler. And you lose one of your best defensive backs from last season. He, again, was tied for the team lead in pass defended. He led the team with 4 interceptions in the safety room. That was Dadrian Taylor Demerson. You lose a very talented player there, as well as losing Tyler Owens, a top 10 tackler with 2 pass defended last season. So those are your losses in the defensive back room, but still a lot of talent coming back. Cornerback room, let's start there. Braylon Lux, 8 passes defended last year. That led the team. You tack on an interception, and being a top 10 tackler, he'll be a really good defensive back for this team in 2024. Maurian Horn and Jalen Peoples also come back to boost up this cornerback room. You do get a transfer in Devin Cromwell, who is coming over from... Okay, it's a wonder I didn't recognize that logo. He is transferring over from a university in Canada that I don't know the name of. You could leave it in the comment section down below. That would be awesome. But he is transferring over from Canadian football to now play American football. Should be a good defensive back for this team in 2024. Safety room, probably your most talented defensive back, you could argue, Red Raider fans. CJ Baskerville does come back. 77 tackles, 5 pass defended, 2 picks a season ago. Brendan Jordan, Chapman Lewis, AJ McCarty, and Jordan Stanford also all return to the safety room, while you get Javion Wilcox coming over from the transfer portal. And kickers are people too, so let's show them some love. Austin McNamara did the punting duties last year. He has gone to the NFL, while Gino Garcia comes back to do your kicking duties. You had to dive in the portal to get a punter. You return Jack Burgess. So talking about this defense overall, and it's got to improve in some very key areas, most notably that rush defense, 160 rushing yards per game, and it killed them in a lot of games last season. Now, again, there is some good talent here. I think they've supplemented well through the transfer portal. I think trying to replace those 4 guys, though, that are gone on that defensive line, trying to fill those shoes is going to be really hard for this team to do. Granted, there still is some really, really good talent here, and I like a lot of the pieces that Texas Tech has defensively, and I'm very interested to see how it all fits together for them in 2024. Let's talk about the Red Raider football schedule. Any game at home will be underlined, while any game on the road is in italics. That's that slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game that I think the Red Raiders are going to win easily, while any game in yellow is going to be a close competitive game, but the Red Raiders still able to win, and red is any game that I predict Texas Tech to lose. It will start out with a win in week 1 against an FCS opponent in Abilene Christian. They should have no troubles there, but then an interesting little road test here against the Washington State Cougars. Now, Washington State was one of 2 teams left out of the just melee that tormented the Pac-12 conference and absolutely tore it apart. And while the entity technically is still in play, again, Washington State, Oregon State don't really have a true conference schedule. They have that Mountain West partnership, but Washington State lost a ton of pieces from last year. Cam Ward, he is now at Miami. Nakia Watson, while they didn't utilize him much, very talented running back that leaves. Of course, Josh Kelly was their leading receiver last year. We know where he is now. I've talked about him a lot in this video, talking about the Red Raider offensive end, and I think that's the key difference maker here. I think Texas Tech is going to have some good quarterback play this year. Josh Kelly and this wide receiver group will be really good. They're going to be able to contend with the Washington State defense that did lose quite a bit of pieces, and I kind of have a sneaky feeling that Zach Kittley is going to see a little bit more explosion in this offense than what he did last season. Texas Tech wins on the road in week 2, a close one against the Washington State Cougars, the one that you got to watch out for, but a win nonetheless. So you start out 2-0, and look, that's going to start a really good win streak for you, because I have you beating North Texas, and while the Mean Green are a team to watch out for in the American Athletic this season, I do not think that they will be really any sort of challenge to Texas Tech here. They did lose their starting quarterback, running back, some wide receiver pieces are gone, some defensive pieces are gone. And while that's still a talented team that, again, has some good pieces coming in through the portal and things like that, Texas Tech should get the win here. And then I think they pick up a win in their first 2 games in conference play because they might be 2 of the worst teams in the Big 12 conference this year. And that's no slight to what Kenny Dillingham is going to do with Arizona State. I believe he is the right man for the job, and I believe Arizona State, from the eye test, will get better this year. I don't know that it leads to many wins right away in this Big 12 conference. I see Arizona State sitting kind of towards the bottom, just trying to figure some things out here, and the Sun Devils will lose to the Red Raiders. And I also think they beat the Cincinnati Bearcats there as well. So 5 straight wins to start out the year. Ooh, the Red Raiders are hot. Cincinnati's a team that I think needs a little bit more development under Scott Satterfield, but that will be a solid team in the Big 12 Conference in 2024. Mark my words, they still have some very nice, solid pieces there, and Satterfield is a coach that, well, while he might not be one of the better ones out there, and that's no slight to Scott Satterfield, he does a pretty good job coaching his football teams, and Cincinnati will be more ready to play in the Big 12 waters this year than compared to last year. But sadly, I do think this losing streak ends at 5 because I have you losing to the Arizona Wildcats. Now, Arizona, a very talented team, and while there are some questions defensively because of all the pieces they lose through the portal, some to the NFL as well, it's a very talented defensive group still with my apologies. I misspoke there. It's a very talented offensive group. See, I threw myself off when I misspoke. It's a very talented offensive group. It's got some really good pieces in the skill position room, most notably Tairoa McMillan. You do get Noah Fafita coming back to that room, and he is a budding young star at quarterback. I like this Arizona team a lot in the Big 12 Conference this year, and I think they pick up the win here against the Red Raiders. So 5-1 through your first 6 games, but then you start to enter a little bit more difficult territory with the back half of the schedule. They should get a win at home against the Baylor Bears. Watch out for DeQuan Finn. I think he's going to have a pretty solid season for this team, but I don't see Baylor being that competitive overall with a lot of the teams in the Big 12. And by that, I don't think it's going to, I don't think it's going to lead to many wins. Baylor's going to be sneaky and feisty in a lot of games, and I think they'll keep this one respectably close, but the Red Raiders pull away at the end. They are able to get the win. Road games coming up now, a back-to-back stretch against the TCU Horned Frogs and the Iowa State Cyclones, and I think you lose both. Now, while TCU is going to be a very interesting game to watch here, I do think Texas Tech drops this game on the road. TCU is a team that still has a lot of very solid pieces, some good defensive pieces, some good offensive pieces. They're going to have a rebound from last season's disaster after making the national title in 2022. Last season was just not great for TCU. They're going to be a little bit better, I have a feeling, than they were last season. And home field advantage is going to play a big factor here, and while TCU may not have enough pieces to be able to slow down this Texas Tech explosive offensive attack, this is one of those games where I just think TCU going to sneak up on people. They do every single year, and TCU beats Texas Tech at home, and then Texas Tech goes on the road and loses to the Iowa State Cyclones, and it's a team you got to watch out for this year. They return a lot of really good young talent with their mix of experienced veterans as well, both offensively and defensively. Matt Campbell has taken this team to some great heights before, and this is the year for Iowa State to really explode and push for a Big 12 Conference championship. Iowa State's going to be a pretty solid team this season, a team to watch for in the Big 12 Conference, and I see them outplaying the Texas Tech Red Raiders right here. But you do get to come back home and play the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, this is an interesting game because Texas Tech enters this one with a 2-game losing streak. Colorado may need this win to kind of sort of keep bowl eligibility hopes alive here, depending on how the rest of the season has gone through this point, as Colorado is one of the most tricky teams in the country to predict in 2024. I have Texas Tech winning this game. I know they have Shadur Sanders. I know they have Travis Hunter. I get all of that. But how Texas Tech melds in the trenches is going to be a huge thing to watch for, both on the offensive line and on the defensive line as well. And I just don't think it's sustainable to build a roster through the transfer portal, and it inevitably leads to some struggles, as it will here. Texas Tech picks up that win. But sadly, I think that's where the winning ways in 2024 come to an end, because I think they lose out the rest of the way. don't count out Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State Cowboys this year. If they can get solid quarterback play from Alan Bowman, you have Ollie Gordon coming back. You have some really solid pieces at wide receiver. The defense is expected to take a step up in 2024, and Oklahoma State will be right there competing for a Big 12 title, as will West Virginia. Garrett Green is coming back, a very, very good quarterback for West Virginia last season. Some really good offensive and defensive pieces coming back, and even though this one is at home, the chance to clinch an 8-win season goes down the drain, because I think West Virginia is going to be a good team here this upcoming season, which leaves the Red Raiders at 7-5, which I don't think is a bad record considering everything. It definitely could be higher. I'm excited to see where this quarterback play leads. I think they're going to get more explosion from the offense, something that Zach Kitley is going to like, and the defense should take a little step up in 2024 if nothing else, but the defense is what I'm interested to watch with this team. That's going to do it for the Red Raiders. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder, and next time we'll talk about the Pitt Panthers. Goodbye.